Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about being hasty with your vows. Alright, so I think we all can relate to those moments of when we get those spiritual highs, that we're so spiritually exuberant. We're in this great place in our faith and in our life, when in those moments we say things like, oh man, I could never do this, or you think that you wouldn't engage in a particular activity, or that you wouldn't engage in a particular sin, or you wouldn't go back to things that you said that you wouldn't do. I have said those things myself. There's many things in my life that I said, oh, I wouldn't do that. Like I could never do that. I'm too devoted to the Lord and stuff like that. And only to find myself some years later, or even weeks later, and doing the same thing that I said that I wouldn't do. And not only me, I mean, there's plenty of stories out there. You can just talk to anyone, especially in your church, in your local churches, that'll tell you, stories about them saying and making promises and statements about things that they would or would not do, only to fail on that. And so there's several biblical examples that come to mind, but there's a point to this whole thing. So let's go through them. This is me being transparent. One of the hardest stories in the Bible for me to digest for the longest time, and it's still somewhat, because it breaks my heart as a person that aspires to be a father, especially to a daughter one day. But the story of I think it's pronounced Jephthah or whatever, Jephthah. I can't pronounce that man's name, but anyway, you know what I'm talking. His story is in Judges 11, and in that story, he was one of the people that God raised up to judge Israel, which means be a protector and deliver Israel from her enemies. Well, in the midst of that, he was super excited, and the Spirit came upon him, and he started, in the way, boasting, and because he was excited about the things that God was doing, and he wanted to show his dedication, and said, you know what? He said, Lord, the first thing that comes out of my door when I come back from this victory, I will sacrifice to you. It'll be a burnt offering. And he went to battle, came back, and was victorious. And on his way back, his daughter runs out because she's excited to see him. She hasn't seen him in a while, and so she runs out and greets him. And immediately he remembers his vow, and he's like, "Oh no," and he starts to regret it, and he wants to get out of it, but he made this vow. And as I'm reading this story, I'm thinking, Lord, stop it. You stop Abraham from sacrificing his son. You can stop this. And it didn't happen. They had this big ceremony for her, and they spent the last 30 days with her and mourning for her, and they sacrificed her, and that really messed me up for a while. I was like, wow. But the point of the story is echoed throughout other parts in the Bible, to where it's like, don't be hasty in the things that you say. Don't be hasty in your promises and your statements in your moments of exuberance. There's other parts in the Bible that echoes those sentiments and have those same warnings. For example, is when Peter had made this declaration to Christ before Christ was betrayed by Judas, and Jesus was telling the disciples what was going to happen, and Peter, he was in the moment, and he was like, I will never betray you. Like, if everyone else go, like, I'll be the one to stay. Like, I won't go. And when the time came, Peter was out of there. I will give Peter credit though. In the garden, he did try to ride out. He grabbed the soldier's sword and he cut off his ear or whatever. But during Jesus' trial, we know the story. He denied him 3 times. This is exactly what Jesus told him will happen. And so then immediately after he denied him the 3rd time, Peter felt that conviction. He's like, man, like the very thing I said that I wouldn't do, I just did it. And he told me I was going to do it. And I was humbling for Peter. And it was so humbling for Peter that he was, after the Lord had rose from the grave, Peter was kind of just like, man, I don't even deserve to be around this man, because I basically just lied to him. And that's why the reinstatement of Peter was so beautiful. So, and that's the thing, we got to understand that we have to be very careful when we are excited and we are on these spiritual highs, because tests and trials, they will come. They will sneak up on you. Sometimes we may open up the door for it, sometimes we don't. But the thing is, that's what the Lord had said. He said temptations must come. But woe to the person who the temptation comes through. But they have to come. But the thing is, when you think of tests and temptations as this burden, you kind of miss it, because tests and temptations and trials, their intended purpose is to help us grow. It develops our character, and so that's the thing. Like, yeah, we will stumble, we will make mistakes, but it's all for us to strive towards Christ likeness. And I want to encourage you guys to please be careful. I know you're excited, I know you're zealous, but you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Another thing that we have to consider is the vanity that we're in when we say things that I will never do or I will do. It's like it's a vanity. Yes, we want to sit there and think that we are speaking in the spirit, or that we are speaking in faith and things like that, and we're walking by the spirit. But like I always say, like, you just never know what the day will bring, but like Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 5, I think it's 5:3 or something like that. I put it up on the screen. It said, but in our moments, okay, let's talk about Ecclesiastes 5, for example. And there, in the first few verses of Ecclesiastes 5, Solomon is talking about keeping our vows. It said, don't be so quick to then make a promise. Don't be so quick to make a statement. In those moments when there's many words, there's vanity. Okay? When you're talking too much, you're proving your vanity, and we don't fear God, right? So all I'm saying is watch what you say, because you never know what the day will bring, what the moment will bring, and how you will feel in that particular day, and what tactic the enemy will come. Like, you will pass on tests. You will. But don't ever think that you are so strong and you boasted in your flesh, you having so much confidence in your flesh, that you will pass every trial. Don't get there. You're setting yourself up. So anyway, guys, that's it for this one. I will catch you later. Thank you for watching. God bless.